What if your worst nightmares didn't end when you woke up, but followed you into the real world? This isn't the Freddy you remember. It's darker. Deeper. More disturbing than ever before. In this terrifying 2025 reboot of A Nightmare on Elm Street, fear is no longer just a dream. It's identity. Memory. Reality itself. Starring Bill Skarsgård as a reimagined Freddy Krueger, more brutal, more cunning, and impossible to escape. 1, 2. Freddy's coming for you. Get ready for the most disturbing version ever told. Starts, right now. If you dare. Chapter 1, The Dream Begins. The first thing Thomasin Mackenzie noticed as she awoke from the nightmare was the sweat on her skin. Cold and sticky, it clung to her clothes as if she had been trapped in the dream for an eternity. But it wasn't the sweat that made her skin crawl, it was the voice. Even now, as she rubbed her eyes and tried to steady her breathing, the voice echoed in her mind. A deep, guttural rasp that seemed to slither across her thoughts like a whisper from hell itself. Come closer, sweetheart. She jolted upright in bed, gasping for air. The room around her was familiar, the faded posters on her walls, the old wooden desk littered with books, and the half-empty coffee cup on her nightstand, but something felt wrong. The shadows seemed to cling to the corners longer than they should have, and for a moment, she thought she saw a flicker of movement. She blinked rapidly, but when she looked again, the shadows were still. Her heart raced, pounding in her chest as the panic crept in. No. It's just a dream, she told herself. It's just a damn dream. But it wasn't. It never was. Not anymore. The nightmares had started a few months ago, creeping into her sleep with terrifying frequency. At first, they were nothing more than fleeting images, a man with knives for fingers, a grotesque smile that twisted in the darkness. But they had grown worse. The dreams had become more vivid, more violent. More real. The man, the one with the burnt face and the malicious eyes, was no longer just a figure in the dream world. He was something more. Something that followed her, even when she was awake. The voice. The whisper. It never stopped. And no matter how hard she tried, she could never shake the feeling that he was watching her, waiting. Just a nightmare, Thomasin whispered to herself, but the words tasted hollow. She had tried to tell herself that so many times, but the terror was always there, lurking beneath the surface. It was the same every time. The moment she closed her eyes, he would be there, standing in the darkness, his hideous form coming into focus with every heartbeat. His red and green striped sweater seemed to glow against the blackness of the nightmare, and his eyes, those black, empty eyes, pierced her soul. His laugh, low and cruel, vibrated in her chest, filling her with a terror so deep, so absolute, that it felt as though the world itself was being consumed by it. Wake up, she had screamed countless times, but it was always too late. The nightmare always found her. But now it felt different. The fear had settled deep within her bones, and it wasn't the usual dread of a nightmare. No, this time it was something else. Something far darker. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, pulling her from her thoughts. She glanced at the screen and saw Caleb's name. She didn't need to think twice before answering. Hey, Tom, his voice crackled through the phone, a comforting sound. You okay? You sounded off this morning. You didn't pick up yesterday. Her fingers gripped the edge of the phone as if it were a lifeline. I'm fine, she lied, her voice shaking despite her best efforts. Just tired. There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then Caleb's voice softened. You don't sound fine. What's going on? You haven't been yourself lately. She bit her lip, glancing toward her bedroom window, where the morning light was creeping through the blinds. She could see the trees outside, their branches twisting against the sky like clawed hands, and the sense of unease crept back. The world felt wrong. I had the dream again, she admitted softly, though she wasn't sure why she was telling him. Caleb couldn't help her. No one could. It was a nightmare, and she knew, deep down, that it was more than just her imagination. "I know what you're going through," Caleb said, his voice low and steady. "But we'll figure it out. I'm coming over. Just hang on." Thomasin shook her head, her pulse quickening. "You don't get it, Caleb. It's not just a dream. It's like he's real, like he's in my head. And I can't get rid of him. He's everywhere." Caleb was silent for a long time before he spoke again, his voice quieter than before. "Who is it? This guy in your dreams, who is he?" She swallowed hard, her throat dry as sandpaper. "I don't know. I don't know his name, but I see him every night. He's the one with the knives. And I can hear his voice. He's the one in my head." She shuddered as she said the words. A long sigh came from the other end. "The dream demon, right? Freddy Krueger." Her body froze at the mention of the name. She knew it. Everyone knew it. Freddy Krueger. The nightmare that had haunted Elm Street for generations. But how could that be possible? He had been gone for years, vanished into the myths and rumors of their town, the stories parents whispered to keep their children from straying too far from home. It had always been just that, a story. A myth. Something to scare kids into behaving. Except that wasn't true anymore. Freddy Krueger. Thomasin's voice was barely a whisper, her heart thudding in her chest as the reality of it hit her. "But I thought he was dead. He was burned alive. How can he still be? Don't ask me how. But what I do know is that he's back. And I've been hearing things too, strange things. People at school, they're talking. They say kids are having nightmares. And it's not just any nightmare. It's him." The air seemed to thicken around her, as if the walls were closing in. She wanted to dismiss it, to tell Caleb that it was just a coincidence, that the rumors were just that, rumors. But deep down, she knew it wasn't. She knew Freddy Krueger was back, and he was coming for them all. But why? Why now? "I'll be over soon," Caleb said again, his voice full of determination. "Just stay awake, Tom. Whatever you do, don't fall asleep." The line went silent as Thomasin stared at her phone, feeling a wave of dread wash over her. The whisper came again, chilling and unmistakable. "Sleep, sweetheart. It's where I'll find you." She felt a sudden, intense need to be anywhere but here. She grabbed her jacket from the back of her chair and pulled it on quickly, her fingers trembling as she snapped it into place. The nightmares were not confined to her dreams anymore. Freddy had found a way to reach her in the waking world. And she was starting to realize that there was no escaping him. No matter where she went, Freddy Krueger was always just behind her, waiting, watching. And the worst part? She was starting to think that he might just be feeding on her fear. Thomasin hadn't slept in nearly 2 days. Her eyes burned, bloodshot and dry, but she refused to close them. Sleep meant dreams. And dreams meant him. Her room felt like a prison, every creak in the wood, every shadow in the corner, every flickering light bulb sent a spike of panic through her chest. Her bed, once a refuge, now looked like a coffin. A trap. She sat huddled by her window, knees to her chest, clutching a thermos of black coffee like it was holy water. Outside, the morning fog clung to the ground like smoke, swallowing the trees and the street beyond. The world looked unreal. Quiet. Too quiet. A knock at the door made her jump. She scrambled to her feet and stared at the handle, half expecting it to start turning on its own. After a breathless moment, a voice followed. "It's me. Caleb." She yanked open the door, and there he was, disheveled and out of breath, his hoodie damp with early morning dew. "You look like hell," he said, but his voice was laced with concern, not sarcasm. Thanks, she muttered, stepping aside to let him in. He glanced around the room, frowning. Jesus, Tom. Have you slept at all? No, she shut the door. And I'm not planning to. He set his backpack on her bed and pulled out 2 energy drinks, placing them on her desk like offerings. Then we're staying up together. Thomasin gave a weak smile, but her hands trembled as she reached for one of the cans. Caleb sat beside her. Okay. Tell me everything. From the start. Don't hold back. She hesitated, then exhaled and began. She told him about the dreams, the boiler room, the searing heat, the screams she couldn't place. The sound of metal scraping metal. Freddy's twisted face emerging from the darkness, his laughter echoing through endless corridors. She told him how, more and more, the dream didn't feel like a dream at all, how the cuts she got in the nightmare bled when she woke up. When she finished, Caleb was pale. He rubbed the back of his neck, visibly shaken. You remember my cousin Hannah? He asked suddenly. Thomasin nodded. The one who died in her sleep, he said, finishing for her. They said it was a seizure. But a week before she died, she told me she kept seeing a man in her dreams. A man with knives for fingers. She said he was burning her. Thomasin's stomach turned to ice. That's not a coincidence. No, Caleb said. It's not. They both sat in silence, the air between them thick with dread. Then Caleb leaned forward. There's someone else. Someone we need to find. Who? A girl named Harper. She just transferred from another district. People say she doesn't sleep at all. Like, at all. Rumor is, she knows about Freddy. She's seen him. Maybe more. Thomasin blinked. How do you know her? I don't. But Janelle does. Thomasin's brow furrowed. Janelle Monáe? He nodded. Yeah. She's weird, I know. Keeps to herself. But she talks to Harper. And, she told me some crazy stuff last year. About Elm Street. About what happened here before we were born. Thomasin got to her feet. Her limbs ached from exhaustion, but she couldn't sit still. Then let's go. We need answers. If she knows something, anything, we have to find her. Before Caleb could respond, Thomasin's eyes flicked to the window. She froze. What? He asked. She pointed. There. Across the street. That house, do you see it? Caleb followed her gaze. The house she pointed at was once abandoned. Now, lights flickered behind its cracked windows. A single silhouette stood in the upper floor window, unmoving. Watching. Holy hell, Caleb whispered. Is that? I don't know. But I've seen that house before. In the dream. The silhouette didn't move. It didn't even blink. Then, from somewhere outside, maybe down the street, maybe right outside their window, came the unmistakable sound. Screech. Like knives dragged across metal. Caleb shot up. Did you hear that? Yeah, Thomasin breathed. He's getting closer. Suddenly, the light bulb overhead exploded with a loud pop, plunging them into darkness. Thomasin screamed and stumbled backward, her hand reaching for her phone. Then came the voice. Peekaboo, little piggy. It wasn't in her head this time. It was in the room. Thomasin turned toward her closet. The door was cracked open, just slightly. A shape shifted inside. Caleb grabbed her arm. We have to go. Now. They bolted out the front door and ran into the fog-drenched street. Behind them, the sound of metal scraping concrete followed like a predator's breath. Thomasin didn't dare look back. She felt it, him, behind her. The cold weight of his gaze. The heat of the boiler room on her neck. They didn't stop until they reached the edge of town. Thomason's lungs burned, her body screaming for rest, but she kept moving. They stopped beneath an old bus shelter. Graffiti marked every inch, and an empty beer bottle rolled under the bench. It was quiet, too quiet. Thomason doubled over, gasping. He's not just in dreams anymore. Caleb nodded, eyes wide. That wasn't a hallucination. Then how the hell is he doing this? She cried. He's supposed to be dead. Gone. Buried with the past. Caleb looked at her solemnly. Maybe the past isn't buried. Maybe someone dug it up. Thomason's head snapped up. You think someone brought him back? He shrugged. I think we're not dealing with some ghost. Freddy's more than that. He's changing. Feeding off fear. Growing stronger. Thomason turned to the fog, her voice trembling. Then we're running out of time. And we need help. They looked at each other. Then said it in unison, Janelle. As they disappeared into the haze, the fog behind them began to twist, rising unnaturally, taking form. A tall, burned figure stepped out from the smoke, his blade-gloved hand gleaming. Welcome back to Elm Street. He whispered. And laughed. Chapter 3, Janelle's Warning. The halls of Springwood High had never felt this quiet. As Thomason and Caleb walked side by side through the building's east wing, the fluorescent lights overhead buzzed like dying flies. Each footstep echoed too loudly, bouncing off the aging lockers and cracked tile floors. The school, already a cold relic of a forgotten town, now felt like a tomb. You sure she's here? Thomason asked, eyes flicking nervously over her shoulder. Caleb nodded. Yeah. She always comes in through the side doors before class and heads straight to the library. She says the noise of people pollutes her brainwaves. Whatever that means. Sounds like something she'd say, Thomason muttered. Janelle Monáe had always been an enigma at school. A senior who didn't talk much, dressed in layers of black and shimmering patterns, eyes always alert, scanning like she was seeing things no one else could. The students whispered about her. Some called her a witch, others just called her crazy. But right now, Thomason needed her. They both did. They reached the library door. Caleb knocked twice. Silence. Then a voice called from within, soft but clear. Enter quietly. If you woke the pages, I'll be very upset. Thomason glanced at Caleb with raised eyebrows. He shrugged. Told you. Inside, the library was dim. The overhead lights were off, and the tall windows let in a sickly stream of gray light. Dust floated like spores in the air. They found Janelle sitting cross-legged at a back table surrounded by stacks of books. Her fingers traced the surface of an old, leather-bound journal. She didn't look up. You're looking for answers, she said flatly. Thomason stepped forward. How did you? Freddy's voice echoes in the walls. I've heard him. Last night, his shadow passed through the pages of a poetry book. He's bleeding through. Caleb gave her a concerned look, but Thomason leaned in. Then you know he's real. Janelle finally met her eyes. Her expression was unreadable. Real, she said slowly. Define real. Is an idea real? Is trauma real even if it has no shape? I've seen him, Thomason said. He was in my room. I wasn't asleep. He's stronger. He's changing. And he's killing people again. Janelle's eyes narrowed. You're not the only one. 3 students gone in 2 weeks. All in their sleep. 2 from our school. 1 from across town. The reports say seizures. But I've seen the dreams. She paused. I dreamt their deaths before they were reported. Caleb took a step forward. How do we stop him? You don't stop him, Janelle replied, her voice like a razor. You survive him. No, Thomasin said. There has to be a way. I've read about him, there was a girl named Nancy. And others. They fought him. Some beat him. They resisted him, Janelle corrected. But no one ever beats Freddy. Because he's not just some boogeyman anymore. Not even just a dream demon. He's evolved. Thomasin's heart pounded. Into what? Janelle leaned closer. He's not confined to dreams anymore. He's found a way to cross over. To bend memory, warp reality. Every time you fear him, you feed him. He doesn't just kill in your sleep now, he breaks you while you're awake. Slowly. He erodes your sense of reality until you don't know what's real, and that, she tapped her forehead, is where he takes root. In the mind. The cracks. Caleb rubbed his temples. You're saying he's not just entering dreams anymore. He's entering us. Janelle nodded solemnly. Exactly. Thomasin clenched her fists. Then how do we fight something that isn't real in the way we understand real? Janelle reached into her bag and pulled out an old photograph. A black and white image of a group of children in front of a school building. One of them had their face burned out, deliberately scratched away. The rest were staring straight into the camera with blank, lifeless eyes. This is from 1968, she said. Elm Street Elementary. These children were part of something the town buried. A secret. Caleb leaned in. What happened to them? They were the first. Freddy's first class. He worked at the school, long before anyone knew what he was. Thomasin felt a chill down her spine. And the town covered it up. They always do, Janelle whispered. They tried to kill him. Burn him. Erase him. But you don't kill an idea with fire. You ignite it. Freddy became a story. A legend. A whisper. And the more people feared him, the more real he became. Thomasin's voice cracked. So he's back because we're afraid? Janelle stood and walked toward the window, staring out at the gray skies. He never left. The only reason he went dormant was because people stopped remembering. Stopped talking. But the new generation. They found him. Through forums, online myths, shared nightmares. And now he's awake again. Stronger. Smarter. Caleb scoffed. What the hell are we supposed to do then? Just, stay awake forever. Janelle turned to face them, her eyes hollow. No. You go in. Together. You confront the memory. Face the source. Somewhere deep in the dream world lies Freddy's origin. The place he was born. Not the physical man, the idea of him. That's where you fight. Thomasin felt her knees tremble. But we'll fall asleep. He'll be waiting. He's always waiting, Janelle said. But he doesn't expect you to go toward him. He's used to hunting. Not being hunted. You want us to enter the dream on purpose? Caleb asked in disbelief. It's the only way, Janelle said. But you don't go alone. She pulled a small vial from her bag, a dark red liquid swirling inside. What is that? Thomasin asked. Extracted essence of rhinochium, Janelle said. A hallucinogenic root used by ancient dreamwalkers. It allows lucid entry. You drink this, and you're conscious in your dream. You'll have control. For a while. Thomasin stared at the vial. Her reflection warped in the glass. And if we die in the dream? Janelle's voice was deadpan. Then you die. And your soul doesn't leave the dream. It stays there. With him. A thick silence filled the library. Caleb looked to Thomasin. You really want to do this? I don't think we have a choice, she said. Janelle handed her the vial. You'll need 3 doses. For all of you. 1 for you. 1 for Caleb. And 1 for her. Her. Janelle nodded. Harper. The girl who doesn't sleep. She's the key. She knows where to find Freddy's true lair. Thomason gripped the vial tightly. Where is she? Janelle's expression darkened. She's at the hospital. Been in a waking coma for 4 days. Eyes wide open. Screaming in silence. She's trapped in the dream and can't wake up. Caleb swore under his breath. Freddy's got her already. Thomason looked down at the swirling red liquid. Then we need to go in after her. Janelle placed a hand on her shoulder. If you go in, you may never come back. Thomason met her gaze, fire replacing fear in her eyes. If we don't go in, none of us are coming back. Outside, in the shadows beneath the bleachers, something watched. A tall figure in a torn sweater and fedora. His claws gleamed faintly as he pressed them against the chain-link fence, listening. Waiting. And then he whispered. Come find me, if you dare. He laughed, and the sky above Elm Street cracked with distant thunder. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and sorrow. Thomason, Caleb, and Janelle moved down the hallway in silence, their footsteps muffled by the dull linoleum floors. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered in sickly spasms, as though even the building itself was trying not to stay awake. Room 313. That's where she was. Harper Lang. The girl who hadn't closed her eyes in 6 months. The girl whose dreams had finally claimed her. Thomason could already feel the pressure of the vial in her pocket, the lucid dream serum pulsing like a heartbeat. They were about to step into Freddy's world, on purpose. Not as victims. As challengers. Janelle led the way, her long coat swaying behind her like a cloak. Once you're inside, she whispered, there's no linear time. Freddy's world is a labyrinth built from trauma, shame, and memory. He'll use your deepest fears. Twist them. Turn you against each other. Caleb swallowed hard. What do we do? You hold on to the truth, Janelle said. Remember who you are. What's real? What's not? They paused outside room 313. Behind the window, Harper lay still, eyes wide open, unblinking. Her pupils were blown, lost in a vast black sea. Electrodes ran from her temples to a beeping monitor, but she didn't move. Her mouth hung slightly open like she was caught in a silent scream. Thomason couldn't look away. Harper didn't look asleep. She looked possessed. I'll stay out here and monitor your vitals, Janelle said, handing each of them a second vial, filled with something black and cold. If you don't come back in 45 minutes, I'm pulling you with adrenaline. After that, it's out of my hands. Thomason and Caleb stepped into the room. Caleb looked at the girl in the bed and shuddered. I hate this. Thomason pulled out the vial of red serum and nodded. We have to find Freddy's core. His origin. If we can destroy it from inside the dream, maybe we end this. They clinked their vials together like a twisted toast, then downed them. It burned. Instantly. Thomason barely had time to fall backward before her vision imploded in a flash of red and static. The world folded inward. She wasn't falling, but spiraling. Her body twisted and stretched like elastic in a kaleidoscope of screaming faces and rusted metal. She heard her name in 10,000 whispers. She heard his laugh. And then. Boom. They landed. Hard. The sound of dripping water greeted them first. Then the clang of metal. Then the distant moan of something massive and caged. Thomason groaned, pushing herself up from the cold, wet floor. They were in a vast, rust-covered boiler room, the air thick with smoke and decay. Red emergency lights pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Caleb rose beside her, panting. We made it. Where's Harper? A slow creaking filled the air, like steel being twisted by invisible hands. Then, sobbing. A girl's voice. Muffled. Mournful. Help me, please. They followed it down the winding maze of industrial tunnels. Pipes hissed like snakes. The walls breathed. Sometimes, when they blinked, the shadows moved behind them, just out of reach. Everything feels alive, Caleb whispered. Because it is, Thomason said. They reached a long hallway of doors, each with a name scratched into the metal. Jason M., Lori B., Nancy T. Names from the past. Freddy's past. And then, in the middle of the hallway, they saw it. Harper. Strapped to a rusted dentist's chair. Needles jabbed into her arms. Her eyes rolled in her head. Her mouth worked wordlessly. Harper. Thomason ran to her side. Her skin was ice cold. Her breath, shallow. But her eyes suddenly locked on Thomason's. He knows, she rasped. Knows what? That you're here. A loud clank echoed from behind them. Thomason and Caleb spun around. The hallway had vanished. In its place stood a blackened playground, merry-go-rounds turning on their own, rusted swings creaking. The sky was a swirling crimson vortex, and the air was thick with ash. At the top of the slide stood a figure. Wide-brimmed hat. Striped sweater. Bladed glove. His smile twisted impossibly wide. Freddy Krueger. But this wasn't the Freddy from old photos or urban legends. This Freddy was evolved. His skin rippled like molten wax. His fingers stretched unnaturally, the blades curving in midair like living snakes. His voice when he spoke was layered with hundreds of others, screaming, laughing, crying. Guess who's back in class, kids? He moved without walking, gliding across the playground toward them, the world warping behind him. The ground cracked open with each step, revealing the black, screaming faces of the dead. Run! Caleb shouted, pulling Thomason with him. They ran through a warped version of Springwood, only it was melting. Houses twisted into charred skeletons. Familiar faces stared out from shattered windows, mouths sewn shut, eyes gouged out. Street signs read things like "No escape, sleep forever," ELMST scratched out violently. Thomason turned a corner and Freddy was already there. You're mine now, little piggy, he grinned. He slashed, and the air screamed. Caleb tackled Thomason just in time, but Freddy's blade caught her shoulder. The pain was real. Blood poured down her arm. She screamed. We can't fight him like this. Caleb shouted. We need to find the core, Thomason gasped. The origin. Janelle said it's buried in the dream, his beginning. Freddy's laughter echoed around them. You want my origin, huh? Let's take a trip down memory lane. He snapped his fingers. The world fell away. And suddenly, they were inside a classroom. Desks rotted. The blackboard bled. Children sat stiffly in their chairs, heads down. No faces. Just masks made of skin. At the front of the room stood Freddy, younger, wearing a janitor's uniform. Whistling. Smiling. He turned to them. Welcome to Elm Street Elementary, kiddos. Time for show and tell. Thomason's stomach churned. This is where it started. Freddy walked among the children, dragging his glove across the chalkboard with a shriek. All they did was lie. All they did was hide me. So I made them remember. Every cut brings it back. Thomason looked around the room, eyes wide. This place, it's not just a memory. It's a prison. Caleb grabbed her hand. Then we burn it down. They ran to the chalkboard and began tearing at it, revealing something behind, a door. Locked. Chains wrapped in human hair. The door pulsed with heat. Freddy noticed. "Oh, you naughty little brats." He lunged. Thomasin turned to Harper, who had followed them, her eyes wide with fear. "You've seen the door before," Thomasin begged. "What's behind it?" Harper trembled. "That's where he was born. In the fire. In the lies. In the hate." Caleb raised his hand, holding a lighter. "Then let's send him back." He tossed it. The chains ignited. The dream screamed. Freddy howled in rage as fire erupted around them, engulfing the classroom, melting the walls. Children's laughter and cries turned into distorted static. The ground cracked beneath their feet. The fire reached Freddy, his skin bubbled, peeled, exploded. "No," he bellowed. Thomasin grabbed Caleb and Harper. "Wake up." A flash. A scream. A heartbeat. And suddenly, Thomasin sat up in the hospital room, gasping. So did Caleb. Janelle rushed over. "You did it. You made it back." But Harper didn't move. Her body convulsed. And then, slowly, she smiled. And her mouth whispered. "Did you really think it was that easy?" Her eyes opened. But they weren't hers anymore. They were Freddy's. And from deep inside the dream, he laughed. The hospital room descended into chaos. Monitors screamed. Lights exploded overhead. Harper's body writhed in the bed, her limbs snapping at unnatural angles, spine arching like a spider ready to strike. Nurses rushed in, but the moment they crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut behind them with an invisible force that sent one flying into the wall. She didn't get up. Janelle grabbed Thomasin's arm and yanked her back from the bed. "She's not in control anymore," she hissed. "He's inside her. He came through the dream. We brought him with us." Caleb stared at Harper, pale and stunned. "You mean we let him in?" The thing wearing Harper's face snapped its head toward them, her bones cracking loudly as her jaw unhinged wider than humanly possible. From deep within, a low rasp emerged, not Harper's voice, but Freddy's. "Thanks for the lift, kiddies." Thomasin's stomach dropped. "Oh God, he possessed her." "No," Janelle whispered. "It's worse than that. He hollowed her out. He needed a host in the waking world, and now he has one." Harper, Freddy, slowly sat up, her face twitching between Harper's terrified features and Freddy's twisted grin. One eye was hers. The other had turned pitch black, the iris a glowing ember. She slid off the bed, her bare feet slapping wetly against the floor. "What's wrong, Tom? Don't you want to play?" She raised her arm. Her fingers split. Bone and flesh unraveled like rope, twisting into blades. They gleamed wetly in the light as if still alive, twitching with muscle and nerve. Thomasin screamed. Caleb threw himself between her and Harper, swinging in four-stand like a bat. It collided with her shoulder, but she barely flinched. Instead, she grinned wider. "Caleb," she cooed, voice layered with 1,000 whispers, "you always did try to be the hero. Let's see what your spine looks like." Before she could strike, Janelle shoved a metal cart into her side and screamed, "Run!" They sprinted out of the room, Harper's howls chasing them down the hallway. The hospital warped as they moved. Lights flickered and stretched, and rooms blinked in and out of existence like dying stars. Blood began seeping from the cracks in the floor. "She's tearing the barrier apart," Janelle shouted. "Reality is bleeding with the dream. How do we stop her?" Thomasin yelled back. "We can't, not like this. Freddy's soul is anchored. He's infected her. We need to sever the bond from inside the dream again." Thomasin's face twisted in disbelief. We have to go back. Janelle nodded grimly. But this time, you're not going into his world. You're going into hers. They burst out of the hospital doors and into the thick fog of early evening. Sirens wailed somewhere distant. The world felt broken. Skies were smeared with red, the clouds above shaped like screaming faces. Thomasin's head spun. What's happening to the town? She whispered. He's spreading, Janelle said. Freddy is becoming the environment. He's infecting the shared subconscious of everyone who fears him. And now that he has a body, he's unstoppable unless we burn out the root. Caleb's voice shook. You said Harper's mind is the new battlefield? Yes, Janelle said. She's still in there. Somewhere. If we can find her in her own dreamscape and pull her out, we might be able to sever the link. Thomasin hesitated. And if we can't? Janelle looked away. Then Freddy's found his resurrection. They retreated into the safe house Janelle had prepared, a reinforced basement beneath a burned-down church on the edge of Elm Street. The walls were covered in protective runes, dream catchers, and rows of surveillance monitors watching over the town. Inside, she prepped 3 more vials. These glowed violet, not red. These are dream anchors, she explained. They'll take you directly into Harper's mind. But be warned, Freddy's already infected her dreams. You'll be entering a fractured nightmare. A place where time, identity, even physics won't make sense. Thomasin and Caleb exchanged a glance. Fear radiated between them, but so did resolve. Thomasin took the vial in her hand. If we can bring her back, we stop this. You might bring her back, Janelle said. Or you might lose yourselves. Then we don't stop until one of us kills him, Caleb said, voice steady. As they downed the vials, the world tilted. And then. Nothing. Darkness. Until. Screaming. They awoke in the middle of a carnival made of flesh and bone. The Ferris wheel was constructed from ribs and vertebrae. The carousel spun with skinned horses that brayed in agony. The ground squelched beneath their feet, slick with blood. Carnival music played in reverse, each note warping their stomachs. Above them floated a banner, Welcome T.O. Harper's Happy Place. Thomasin covered her mouth. This is inside her mind. Janelle appeared beside them, though she hadn't drunk the vial. I'm not really here, she said. Just a tether. I can guide you for a few minutes. After that, you're on your own. A funhouse stood nearby, its doors agape. From within came a voice. Thomasin, help me. It was Harper. Thomasin took off running. Inside, mirrors lined every wall, except none of them reflected Thomasin or Caleb. Instead, each mirror showed a different version of Harper. One was a child, crying in a locked room. Another stood on a stage, her mouth sewn shut. One was screaming silently inside a coffin of glass. Another hung from puppet strings, bleeding. Then, one mirror showed Freddy. Standing behind Thomasin. She spun around. Nothing. Then. Bang! The mirrors shattered all at once, glass flying like shrapnel. Caleb tackled Thomasin as jagged pieces sliced his arm open. The broken walls melted away, revealing a room with a single hospital bed. Harper lay in it. Alone. Still. Thomasin ran to her side. Harper. Can you hear me? Her eyes opened. This time, no grin. Just pain. He's inside me, she whispered. He made me watch. He took pieces of me. I'm not whole anymore. You can come back, Thomasin pleaded. We can pull you out. We just need you to fight. I'm tired. Thomasin gripped her hand. Then let me fight for you. Suddenly, the ground shook. The ceiling cracked. From the shadows emerged Freddy, bigger than ever. 10 feet tall, skin boiling, claws like scythes. He opened his mouth, and dozens of children's voices screamed from his throat. "You want her? Come get her." Caleb stepped forward. "You're not invincible. You're a memory. A ghost of pain." Freddy's eyes burned. "Wrong." He lunged. But before he could strike, Janelle's voice echoed faintly. "The fire, Thomasin. The fire started it. The fire must end it." Thomasin grabbed a shard of broken mirror and held it high. "This is your reflection, Freddy. Just trauma. And we're not scared of you anymore." She stabbed the shard into the hospital bed. The dream world caught fire. Flames roared from beneath them, consuming everything. Freddy screamed, not in pain, but in rage. His form cracked. Faces peeled off his body like masks. The room became ash. Thomasin grabbed Harper. "Wake up." Flash. They shot upright in the real world. All three of them. Harper sat bolt upright, gasping, sobbing. She was alive. And Freddy wasn't in her anymore. But as Thomasin turned toward the window of the safe house, a reflection caught her eye. In the glass was Freddy. Smiling. And whispering. "You burned the puppet. But I'm not done playing yet." He dragged a single finger across his throat. And vanished. The next morning, Harper didn't speak. She sat on the cot in the safe house basement, wrapped in a blanket, her eyes hollow. Every so often, her fingers twitched, phantom movements, like she still felt Freddy's claws in her skin. Thomasin stayed by her side, holding her hand, trying to remind her she was real. That she was safe. But no one truly felt safe anymore. Outside, Springwood had changed. Janelle watched the monitors with unease. The town looked the same on the surface, but people were acting strange. Street corners where children once played were now silent. Cars parked on lawns, doors left ajar. A woman stood motionless on her porch, staring up at the sky for hours. A mailman walked in circles, repeatedly delivering the same letter to the same box. "They're dreaming with their eyes open," Janelle said. "He's spreading, not just through sleep. He's infecting the waking mind." Thomasin turned toward her. "I thought you said we stopped him." "We severed him from Harper," Janelle replied, "but we didn't kill him. We just made him mad." Harper's voice rasped weakly from the cot. "He fed off me. Off my fears. But now he doesn't need me. He's stronger." Janelle nodded solemnly. "He's reached a new level. He's crossed into cognitive infection. People are now vulnerable just by knowing his name." Caleb blinked. "You're saying Freddy's gone viral?" "In a sense," Janelle said. "Think about it, every urban legend spreads the same way. A story. A name. A face in the dark. Freddy has become mimetic horror, an idea that kills." Harper trembled. "That carnival, it wasn't mine. Not all of it. I could feel others. So many others." Janelle pulled up a map of Springwood. "He's nesting in group dreams now. Multiple minds stitched together like a psychic quilt. If he can trap a critical mass of people in one shared dreamscape, he could anchor himself permanently in reality. Not just a host, he could become real." Thomasin stepped forward. "So how do we stop him before that happens?" "There's only one way," Janelle said, eyes hard. "We go deeper." Caleb groaned. "You've got to be kidding." But Janelle was already unlocking a hidden panel in the floor. She lifted it to reveal a box containing 4 steel syringes. Inside each, an obsidian black liquid, swirling like smoke. "This is 𝐍𝐢𝐠𝐴, she said. "Highly experimental. Developed to plunge minds into the deepest strata of subconscious thought, layer 5. Harper looked up sharply. "No one survives layer 5. "That's why you're staying here," Janelle said gently. "You've already given too much. This time, it's up to us." Caleb eyed the syringe suspiciously. "What's it feel like?" "Like drowning in your own thoughts," Janelle replied. "But if we find Freddy at the core of the dream web, we can kill him. But only if we trap him where he started." Thomasin clenched her jaw. "And where was that?" Janelle glanced toward the charred ruins of an old power plant on the edge of the map. "The place where the Elm Street kids burned him alive." They entered 𝐍𝐢𝐠𝐴 with hearts pounding. No hallucination this time. No surreal carnival. This dream was black. It wasn't silent, there was breathing, close, oppressive. The air smelled like scorched leather and rotting flesh. They stood in a tunnel, made of bone. Molten walls pulsed like veins. The ground writhed underfoot, alive and twitching. Janelle lit a torch. "We're in the deep dream," she whispered. "This isn't Freddy's dream. This is his burial site. Where the memory of his murder burns forever." Thomasin glanced around. "He's scared of this place." Janelle nodded. "Even monsters have nightmares." Suddenly, Caleb froze. In the distance, footsteps. Not echoing. Splashing. They turned toward the sound and found a vast underground lake, black and viscous. In its center floated a dock made of charred wood, creaking softly. Something moved beneath the water, just out of sight. Then, a child's voice, eerily calm. "He's always watching. Even when you don't blink." A little girl stood at the edge of the lake, dressed in a singed nightgown. Her eyes were burned shut. Her mouth was sewn closed. "Who is she?" Caleb whispered. "A remnant," Janelle said. "A fragment of one of Freddy's first victims." The girl pointed toward the lake. "He's down there. In the black. Waiting." They stepped onto the dock. The water hissed like acid where their boots touched it. The lake rippled unnaturally, but no wind blew. Then, a claw burst from the water and dragged Caleb under. "Caleb!" Thomasin screamed. Bubbles surged. Blood erupted like a geyser. Then, nothing. Just the lake. Still. Quiet. Thomasin dropped to her knees, staring into the reflection. And in the water, she didn't see herself. She saw Freddy. Sitting in a throne of bones at the bottom of the lake, laughing. Holding Caleb's soul in one claw. Janelle grabbed Thomasin's shoulder. "Don't break. Don't feel. That's how he feeds." Thomasin's eyes filled with tears. Too late. The lake boiled. The dock exploded into pieces, tossing them into the liquid nightmare. Janelle and Thomasin sank beneath the surface, and for a moment, all was black. Until Thomasin opened her eyes. And saw Freddy's true form. Not a man. A god. His body stretched across a landscape of corpses, stitched together with chains and nails. Every finger was a different weapon. His eyes bled fire. His mouth was a furnace of screaming faces. He looked down at her. "You finally made it, dream girl." She floated in an abyss, helpless, suspended in a world of Freddy's making. He flicked a claw, and Janelle appeared beside her, nailed to a cross of knives. She was alive. Barely. "You came for the source." Freddy sneered. "Then let me show you how the nightmare began." He waved a hand. The dream twisted. And suddenly, Thomasin was a child, watching through a crack in a closet door. Watching a man named Freddy Krueger being set on fire by a mob. Of parents. Listening to his screams. Feeling his rage. You made me, he whispered. You lit the match. You fed the fear. You gave me form. Thomasin blinked, and she was herself again. But now. She held the match. And Freddy stood across from her. You end this, he growled, by becoming me. He extended a claw. Burn the dream. Kill your fear. Take my place. Or let me burn you. Thomasin looked at Janelle. At Caleb's reflection still trapped in the water. Then, she smiled. And snapped the match in half. You're not fear. You're failure. She plunged the broken match into her own chest. Freddy screamed. The dream world exploded in light. The lake caught fire. And then. Thomasin woke up. Gasping. Crying. Alive. Beside her, Harper sat up, mouth open in shock. Janelle groaned on the floor, wounded, but breathing. But Caleb didn't wake. His body remained still. Thomasin sobbed. And outside, the world shifted again. For a brief moment, she saw her reflection in the safe house window. And behind her, Freddy was gone. But in her hand, a burned claw glove sat. Still warm. The days that followed were soaked in silence. Springwood had returned to its normal rhythm, on the surface. Birds chirped. Children rode their bikes. Lawnmowers buzzed across green suburban yards. But beneath the calm, something had changed. Thomasin stood at Caleb's grave, the wind tugging at her black coat. She couldn't speak. Words felt meaningless. Caleb had died a hero, his soul devoured in a realm where no justice could reach. There was no body. No closure. Only ash. Harper joined her, eyes shadowed, still healing. He's really gone? Harper asked, voice hoarse. Thomasin didn't answer. Because she wasn't sure. Back at the safe house, Janelle ran diagnostics on their neural wave monitor. Lines danced across the screen. A lullaby hummed faintly from an old radio that shouldn't have been on. Then. The monitor spiked. Janelle stared. No, 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 no. She hit keys, zoomed in. A dream frequency. High. Spreading. Then a voice echoed through the static of the radio. 1, 2. Freddy's coming for you. She ran to the others. He's not dead, she said. We didn't kill him. We just. Harper looked up. Transferred him. Thomasin stood slowly. Into me. The room fell silent. That night, Thomasin didn't sleep. She couldn't. Because when she closed her eyes, she wasn't in her bed. She was back in Springwood. But it wasn't her Springwood. It was rotting. The trees bled sap. The sky cracked with purple lightning. Houses twisted inward like screaming mouths. Roads were made of scorched bones. The air stank of melted rubber and nightmares. In the center of the town stood a mirror. And inside it, Thomasin saw Freddy. Smiling. Not triumphant, but wary. You kept the glove, he said. Cute. Thomasin lifted her hand. The glove was there. Burned to her flesh. Fused with her nerves. It pulsed with dormant power. I don't want it, she said. You already accepted it, Freddy hissed. You think dreams just vanish? I am the dream. And now I'm in you. He stepped out of the mirror. The dream twisted. The streets became blood. The sky turned to flame. Corpses of Freddy's past victims screamed from the rooftops. You burned my house down, sweetheart. But you lit it from inside. Thomasin gritted her teeth. Then I'll burn us both. She plunged the glove into her own chest again. But this time, it didn't kill her. It awoke her. She gasped awake in the real world, screaming. Harper and Janelle held her down. Where were you? Harper cried. He's inside me, Thomasin said, shaking. We're not separate anymore. I see what he sees. Feel what he feels. He's trying to rebuild, through me. Then we kill him, Janelle said. Thomasin looked at them with haunted eyes. No, she whispered. We don't kill him. We trap him. They returned to the dream. All of them. Linked through Janelle's neural sync. One final descent into Layer 6, the primordial dream. The place before nightmares. Everything was gray. Static. Reality unwritten. Shapes flickered in and out of existence, dreams never formed, terrors unborn. And in the center of it all. Freddy Krueger. He was titanic now, taller than buildings, his hat scraping the void sky. His claws were entire universes. His grin split the world. You think you can erase me? He roared. I am fear. Thomasin floated toward him, alone. No, she said. You're just the fear of one town. You're not eternal. You're local. Freddy snarled. I'm every kid's worst night. Not anymore, she said. She raised her hand, and behind her, every soul Freddy had ever killed appeared. Children. Teens. Adults. They didn't scream. They sang. 1, 2. Freddy's coming for you. The rhyme turned against him. Freddy's form shuddered. The children joined hands, encircling him, their eyes glowing. You made us your food, a dead girl whispered. Now we make you our prison. Chains of light wrapped Freddy's limbs. He roared, but his power was breaking. You can't dream without me, he howled. Thomasin stepped forward. I'll dream of better monsters. She raised the glove, and slashed his name from the void. No more Freddy. The dream exploded. Light. Then silence. Then. Waking. Back in the safe house, Thomasin awoke. Harper sobbed. Janelle's monitor was flat. No Freddy frequency. Gone. Truly gone. Weeks later, Thomasin stood before a classroom, teaching sleep psychology. No one remembered Freddy Krueger. Not even Harper. The world had forgotten him. Erased from the dream web. But sometimes, when Thomasin slept, she'd hear it. Faintly. Scratching. In the corner of her dream. Waiting. Because fear never dies. It just finds a new shape. And sometimes, it still wears a hat. And claws. And waits behind the mirror. The end. Or is it?